Now, as we prepare to enter the campaign season proper in the next few hours, it signals the beginning of the home straight and the final countdown to the main event in February 2023. So much work leading up to this point, so many party leaders possibly already exhausted. But now they've got to face 5 months of grueling campaigning with all the tripwires and hazards that come with it. Some of the parties who are not the APC, the PDP, Labour or the NPP are already offering alternative takes on the political contest. Take the Social Democratic Party, for instance, once considered the third force in Nigerian politics. It's apparently determined to reclaim that lost glory and sees this campaign as an opportunity to reassert itself. So, as we move into the end game, what sort of strategy is the SDP aiming to adopt? Well, who better to tell us than the national chairman of the Social Democratic Party, the SDP, Alhaji Shehu Gabam, and he joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
A great pleasure, thank you.
What will be the approach of your party, the SDP, in this campaign which begins tomorrow?
Well, so far so good in terms of all our submissions to INEC. In terms of releasing of all the candidates, I can say SDP have done very well. So far, 90% of all our submissions have gone through. In terms of structure, we have the structures from the ward, from the local government, from the state, and at the national level. We have done a very successful convention on primaries that produced the youngest presidential candidate of 50 years and few months. We have idea of what it takes to provide basic principles of leadership. And of course, in all the states, our gubernatorial candidates are on standby. They've been having meetings, they've been having consultations with all the candidates from the State Assembly, House of Reps, Senate, and the presidency. I was part of one yesterday. The essence is to synergize, to come together, think of so many issues. How would they navigate through the difficult challenges that we are facing now? The dynamics of 2023 is like not any other one that the country have ever witnessed. So it's going to be very huge, it's going to be very challenging. And of course, we are not going to be a copycat of other parties' processes of flag off and so on and so forth. We have our own method, we have our own processes, we have defined our module of operation.
And what's that method?
Well, simple. You know, a lot of people want to start by hiring crowd rallies and so on and so forth. We want to start having a town hall meeting that will be covered live, where the candidate will face a lot of people, will face a lot of questions, will answer a lot of questions. We want to saturate the country with ideas, superiority of ideas, superiority of presentation of facts of what Nigeria needs of today, given the current challenges the country is facing. And of course, you don't need any researcher, any professor to tell you what to do. This government have generated sufficient material for any serious presidential candidate to deal with issues straight ahead without mixing words. So we are not like somebody like me who have been part of the formation of party, have been part of presidential campaign for years. I'm not bothered one bit about whatever propaganda that people are marketing around. I know period of election, I know injury time, and I know when to strike.
Right. Now, the SDP was once seen as the third force party in this country. In fact, it's the oldest party. I mean, you had Abiola as your, Moshood Abiola as your candidate in 1993 when you won the election, but that's the last time you actually really won anything substantial. The sense that people get is that you've been relegated and, are no longer mentioned in the front runner group. Why is that? What's gone wrong?
It's simple to propaganda, but by statistics, nobody will say SDP is being relegated. As I'm talking to you, we have 12 serving members of parliament, both at the states and the national level, and the Senate, House of Reps and the Senate, serving. No any other party have such members apart from PDP and APC. So by any measure of analysis, you cannot say SDP is not a.
So why aren't you talked about as one of the front runners?
I don't know what you mean. There is no any presidential candidate or party that have appeared on media like SDP so far. It's a record. But when it comes to interest and packaging of interest, people take side. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not worried about people's perceptions and opinions pool. I'm worried about what I'm putting on ground, putting the, being on the march to deal with the situation decisively. I told a lot of people that I'm waiting for INEC to publish the list of candidates. People will start knowing their level. And so far, based on what INEC have published so far, I believe a lot of parties are already taking their own stock. And we are very comfortable in SDP. We have done a very thorough job. By INEC record, we've not been found wanting in all our submissions. We comply with the law.
Well, you've talked about that already.
So that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, the beyond the APC and the PDP, which are the two biggest parties, what about the challenge posed by the NNPP and the Labour Party? How do you assess that?
It's a 0% challenge to me. Don't forget that I've been part of the formation of PDP from G7. I know what it takes. So I'm not worried about propaganda. People have different style of propagating themselves and rating themselves and so on and so forth. In SDP, I'm not bothered about it one bit. I've been part of winning elections. We won some, we lost some. It's not as if a new person in this type of operation. Look, if I want to hire 2 million people and pay them to be in Abuja, they will be in Abuja. So it takes nothing. I can just pick Niger here, I can pick Kogi, I can pick Nasarawa, I can mobilize as thousands as I can. Once I can pay them. The politicians of nowadays hire crowd just to show this, make a kind of.
But do you think your message, because I mean you haven't, I mean you've won a few seats, yes, but you haven't won a really substantial amount of seats that would justify you being seen as a credible third force in Nigeria.
There's no other party that have gotten what I have gotten, apart from PDP and APC.
Do you think your message failed to resonate with the Nigerian people? And I mean, how are you intending to make it get through this time? You talked about town hall meetings and that sort of thing. I mean, is that pretty much it?
Well, I just gave you one of it as a take-off ground. You know, instead of just pulling crowds around for the sake of, you know, pulling crowd and talking political issues and so on and so forth, we want to start dealing with issues. And then people.
Well, that's what the Nigerian people want to see.
People should have access to the candidate, ask him whatever question they want to ask him, and let him answer them. To me, that is a very technical way of taking off, and is a way of testing the readiness of any presidential candidate. It's not about having a sort of.
So you're ready. You're more ready this time, because in 2019, if you remember, you were sitting there at the time. I mean, you know, your party was torn apart by infighting, wasn't it? I mean,
no, it wasn't
factional fighting. Let me just make the point, and then you can respond. Factional fighting almost destroyed the party in 2019 when you were Donald Duke's vice presidential running mate. Yes. And that cost you dearly, and further to that, some of your people decided then to support President Buhari, who the SDP was supposed to be challenging at the polls in 2019. Is everything now tickety-boo, as they say, in the SDP? I mean, or are you still embroiled in... Well, I have to ask you these questions. Are you still embroiled in conflict?
The recent opening of our headquarters showcased the unity of the party. Virtually everybody was there, from Falaye and all.
Yes, I saw Olu Falaye in some of your photographs.
There. And there was show of solidarity, show of unity.
Is he back in the party? Because he left in 20...
No, he has not left the party before. He has not left the party.
Yeah, but at one point he did leave.
No, he mentioned it there that he has never left the party.
Right.
He mentioned it there. Secondly,
he just gave the impression he'd left.
Well, secondly, let me say that we were a threat to the existing party then. And then the party funded the factionalization of SDP. We fought it all through up to the Supreme Court. We won the case. We fought it all through.
Yeah, but it ruined your chances in 2019, didn't it?
For us, it's an additional experience, because if you are a threat to parties that feel that you are nobody, you know, they can always do a lot of things to create a lot of distractions. It is okay they have done what they have done, but they are also suffering from it today. The internal wrangling that is going through some of those two major parties you are talking about, if you know what it is, Perhaps you say that SDP is...
Yes, you have a
sleeping
point there.
Very soundly. We are not worried about it. My concern, if you ask me about 2023, there are two things. One, vote buying is my fundamental concern. What are we doing about vote buying as a nation? What is INEC doing about vote buying as a nation? That's number one. Number two, how secure would the environment be? INEC is independent to an extent that there's law and order at the polling unit that they can deploy their materials.
That's
but
a good point.
In a situation where they are not in charge of deployment, the executive is in charge of deployment, then you have taken away independence from INEC. So that is my major concern. Is the environment going to be conducive for INEC to deploy election materials? Is the beavers going to function the way it was designed? Because our experience in Ekiti is something that need to be analyzed. We are in the tribunal already. We believe solidly we won Ekiti State. And of course, the tribunal will justify what we are saying. Then the vote buying is the fundamental threat the nation is facing today. And that is why both the parties are struggling for attention. Both the major parties and we that are there, everybody is struggling for attention because the percentage of those who determine who will be the president, who will be governor, who will be senator, who will be House of Reps, 71% are the youths. And therefore, whatever anybody is doing, the center of gravity are the youths and the women, and of course other percentages. Yeah. So my focus is to deal with these technical areas and mop them up and deal with their psychology and deal with the basic issues that give them this worry. And this 71% largely are anti-establishment. So it takes a party to take advantage of the situation, go through the system, mop them up, deal with the issues, and
as you aim to mop them up, are you going to be campaigning across the whole of Nigeria, or will your campaign be more targeted?
No. We'll campaign the entire Nigeria, but we'll start with the town hall meetings in the 6 geopolitical zones. Because we want to present the candidate to virtually all those that matter, so that they can have one-on-one with him, ask him questions, let him respond
and get to know him.
And get to know him. And then we'll start rallies state by state. Like you said, this is the longest campaign period in the history of Nigeria. So it takes very smart politicians
good planning
to structure the campaign period. Otherwise, you will run out of foil.
Right. Okay. So just distill for us in a few words what message you're going to be delivering to Nigerians during this campaign season. What will be the heart of your message to the Nigerian voter?
The first message is Article 1 of our Constitution. The safety of lives and properties of Nigerians. You don't need anybody to tell you that you need to provide sanity, you need to provide reconciliation, you need to provide harmony for you to get a political environment to attract local and foreign investors. Number 2, you need to reprioritize the entire structure of governance. You cannot reinvent what is not available. But your primary responsibility is to look at the critical sectors that will have direct impact on the citizens and deal with them decisively. One of them, you have to really deal with the security sector based on what is going on. You are having about 200 and something million population with less than 300,000 policemen. And then you have civil defense, you have other paramilitary institutions. As serious people who want to deal with the exigencies of today, where non-state actors are challenging states, you need to strengthen the security apparatus. You need to expand and train them as combatant forces. In civilized countries or in developed countries, immigration, customs are fully kitted because they are facing a lot of hazard. Equally here, if you equipped immigrations and customs, they will prevent crime from coming into the country at the border areas or strategic areas that crimes are being smuggled into Nigeria. So there are areas of modern challenges that you have to deal with as a party. Otherwise, you mix up the whole thing. And these are the ones that have direct impacts on the citizens that will determine their peace, stability, or investment, and so on and so forth. Again, you have to deal with the educational sector because the bedrock of any society. Our policy of education is anti-Nigerian system. It's against the citizens. For me, I don't see what is the essence of JAM, apart from extorting citizens. In all countries of the world, once your child have gone through YX successfully, or NECO, they'll get automatic admission. But we are subjecting our children here through processes of extortion. JAM have turned to revenue center, generating revenue, without impacting anything on that. So, I mean, there are priority things any serious government must pay attention to, given the current situation that we are. Nobody is happy that children are at home. The educational system have collapsed. It did not start with this government. It's been on for a very long time, but there's lack of will to deal with the situation. A president must develop capacity to deal with difficult situations. In the absence of developing that capacity to deal with any situation, nobody will take you serious, nobody will take the government serious. In 100 days, a president must make a difference to showcase that we are not banana republic. We mean business and we deal with it decisively.
Well, I want to thank you very much indeed for sharing those thoughts with us, and do come back and talk to us again.